I don't know who needs to hear this, but I don't think you have to have life figured out. I actually think that's one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves. You graduate high school, maybe college or university, and suddenly it feels like you're supposed to know exactly what career you want, where you want to live, who you're going to marry, what's your 5 year plan. And if you don't have those answers, it almost feels like you're behind. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately because if I'm honest, I don't think I've ever had life completely figured out. So I'm gonna sip on this coffee and I'm gonna tell you a story. When I was younger, I was convinced that I wanted to become a chef. And I mean younger. I used to be 8, 9 years old. I would sneak down the steps early in the morning to try and make pancakes for the family. I didn't know what I was doing. I was grabbing the drinking glasses out of the cabinet and grabbing the Bisquick mix, and I thought that was a cup. I had no idea. But I loved cooking. I watched cooking shows all the time, and ironically, that actually taught me so much. And I say ironically because YouTube is a lot different now. I think you actually really can learn a lot about cooking. But I was watching old Gordon Ramsay videos, kitchen nightmares, and I was able to learn just off of that. But anyways, I held that thought with me for so long that I wanted to be a chef, and I was met with disapproval from my parents. I come from a family of accountants. My brother's an accountant, my dad's an accountant, his brother's an accountant, his sons are accountants. So for me to not go down the accountant avenue, but not go down a business pathway as well, was very, very, very disapproved. But that was what I wanted to do. So I didn't have support for it. I went ahead and I changed my whole address. If you're not from the States, what we have here is you get a residence discount if you live nearby the school. And so I had to change my address just to be able to afford going to school. And I went. It was successful. I always felt pretty ahead of my peers. Not to sound narcissistic in any way, but I'm telling you, like, I watched videos nonstop. I tried to perfect my craft before I even got there. And eventually I graduated, and it was time to land a real big boy chef job. And so I walked into, it was a hotel near me actually, which I know how that sounds, but this hotel, a lot of foot traffic came in, which I'll explain more here in a second. But I walked in and I asked to meet with the chef, and we had an interview right then and there. And it was a really quick one. It only asked me a few questions. And he goes, "All right, follow me." And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't prepare for this. He walks me into the kitchen, gives me a very, very brief introduction. "All right, your meats are here, cheeses are here, blah, 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 blah. Make me something." So I'm back there in the kitchen. It was a slow period, but all the other chefs are in there like doing their thing, and they're like, "Who's this guy?" But ultimately, I made the chef a burger, got the job, and then I worked there for a long time. We're talking about like a year and a half in, and what I said I was going to get back to was just cool little flexes of mine. I've cooked for David Spade, if anyone's familiar. And then I was a big fan of the show Gotham, and I remember prepping something one day, and then someone walked through the kitchen, and I'm like, "Is that Poison Ivy?" And she turned over, so I knew that she heard me, but I didn't know what her actual actress name was. But I enjoyed it. My problem was I was working the chef job and I was working at a dealership at the time. My body was truly exhausted. Like, I was getting nosebleeds every day, and I didn't know what it was until I finally talked with someone, and they told me, like, "You're suffering from exhaustion." So I knew that I had to let one go. And you're probably thinking, well, yeah, you let go of the part-time dealership job. Like, you had a whole plan to be a chef. Well, I wasn't really passionate about doing chef work as a job. I mean, my days were brutal. I was coming in at 4 in the morning, and if you were lucky, you would leave at 1 p.m. I had days where we were cooking from 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sometimes we would have banquets, and I'd be working from 4 a.m. all the way to like 7. It was crazy. We'd sleep in the locker room and then wake up the next day and just get right back into the kitchen. So I had to let that go. And that hurt a lot, because not only did I feel like I was giving up, but I didn't want to prove my parents right. And that was what I felt like. I felt like I was going to leave the cooking job and they were going to be like, I told you shouldn't have been a chef. So I didn't want to do that. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And as I mentioned, I was working at a dealership at the time. I was delivering auto parts. And I kind of noticed that the people behind the counter who gave me my orders, that they were kind of nearing retirement age. So one day I said to them, like, hey, what if I tried to learn this? And they were on board with it. So then I became a parts manager for a while. And this helped a lot because it helped my resume show, okay, now I can say that I have computer skills. I wasn't just someone that went to culinary school and is now 24 years old and has no experience in the corporate world at all. I was able to market myself a little bit better. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. Now I'm figuring things out a bit more. But then it's still super hard to land another job because I don't have the degree that matches it. So now I'm freaking out because I'm 24 years old. I'm like, I've got to go back to school. I thankfully was able to find a job, and it's currently still my job, that was offering to put people through school in what was called an apprenticeship program and work at the same time. So I was able to get into a completely different industry and go to school. It was very, very much needed. It helped me a ton. But even then, I finished that after a couple years on the HR side of things. And I didn't want to do that either. And so now, I'm even older. I'm 26 now, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to do any of this. So I kind of forced my way out and started asking other departments within the company, asking people in other departments about what can I do? What would this role entail for me? Is this something that I should try? And I found underwriting, which is what I still do and I love. But if you asked me back in high school, what's underwriting? I couldn't have told you. I honestly probably would have guessed wrong. But that's kind of the point. Sometimes the thing you end up enjoying isn't even on your radar yet. And that's okay. I've even since then found things that I think I did enjoy. I became so motivated to become a personal trainer that I set aside time every single day. I would go to my local library and I would study. And I took the NASM test and I was nervous as can be. That was actually it was a really funny experience, a really traumatizing experience. I was taking it and I remember sitting there. It's a proctored exam, and I sat there and I read one of the questions out loud to myself, just kind of thinking what part of the bicep is activated. And they locked my test and yelled at me in the chat feature, no speaking. So I'm like, oh, my fault. I continue, and then my brother, who I was living with at the time, he came home and he's like, oh, sup? And they locked my screen again. They're like, if we hear another peep, we're canceling your exam. So I'm freaking out. I think the test was really downhill the rest of the way. But Ultimately, I did pass. So then I started walking into every single gym like, hire me, I'm certified now, I'm a personal trainer. And I found one that did, and I'm like, yes, like, great. Now, not only do I have a job that I like, but now what I'm really passionate about, like the gym, I've got this. I can do this now. And then I tear my meniscus. And I get a grade A ACL sprain. My knee was messed up really bad. And I thought that the world came crashing down on me. I'm like, I just worked so hard to get here, and now I can't even do it anymore. But that's kind of the whole message of this, is that we figure things out. And what's really funny about that is because I remember being younger, and if you're younger watching this, this is really important. I remember looking at adults and thinking, wow, how do they have all of this figured out? That's crazy. Like, this is never going to be me. But now I am an adult. And I can tell you, almost no adult has everything figured out. There's just adults who are better at hiding it or better at carrying themselves than others. But I promise you, nobody really has life figured out. I think we take things day by day. And yeah, just some people are better at it than others. So it's just important to not get discouraged by that. Everything is about trying things and then realizing that some of them aren't for you. But you learned a new skill, or you learned a new lesson. You've met people along that journey. And you just kind of learn to change directions when you need to. It's not a failure because your path changes. I've shifted my mindset to think that maybe my path has changed because I've grown. And honestly, that's one of the biggest things that's happened for me recently with starting this YouTube channel. Not because it's huge or because I have a lot of subscribers. I don't. It's given me a place to think out loud. And it's become kind of a journal for me. I can sit here, play Minecraft, talk about whatever's been on my mind, and somehow there's people who actually enjoy listening. That still feels so weird to say. And no, if you were wondering, almost nobody in my real life even knows this exists. My very, very, very close friends do now. Mostly because it's hard to hide when you're spending hours recording, editing, and uploading videos. But I never wanted this to become something where I text everyone I know, hey, check out my video and subscribe. I don't want views because someone knows me. I would rather people find these videos because something that I said connected with them. That means a lot more to me. And it's funny because I've started these like Minecraft and conversation videos thinking maybe they'd help someone else. And if they do, truthfully, that means the world to me. But they've probably helped me just as much. Sometimes saying your thoughts out loud forces you to understand them better. Maybe that's why I enjoy doing this so much. So if you're watching this and you feel like everyone else has their life together except you, I promise you, they're probably figuring it out too. Again, some people are just better at making it look like they have all the answers. Life's not a race to have everything figured out. You don't have to have it figured out by 25 or 30, even 40. You don't need every answer today. You just need the willingness to keep moving, keep trying things, keep learning, and keep changing your mind if you need to. Because the person that you become 5 years from now might laugh at the idea that today's version of you thought that they had everything figured out. Anyways, thanks for listening. I know that these videos are kind of different, but I always appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with me. I appreciate the feedback on these videos. They're something that I truthfully like to do and like to put out to the world. So I think that's the direction that I'm going to continue to head. And I will see you in the next one.